Thousands continue protesting the Senate-imposed government of Vice President Michel Temer, and Colombian authorities have made their largest drug bust on record. Those are our headlines. My name is Regan Nevins, and this is From the South. Thank you so much for joining us. Supporters of Brazilian President Dilma Rousseff have remained in the streets following her ouster last week. Large protests have been registered in 5 different states as the Senate-imposed government is already struggling to justify large budget cuts. Temer, who has barely 2% popularity in opinion polls, spoke on the right-wing Global TV channel about the decision not to include women or persons of African descent in his cabinet. His answers during the interview helped fuel the riots. And not only Rousseff supporters are rejecting the interim government, Ecuador, Bolivia, Nicaragua, Venezuela, Cuba, Uruguay and El Salvador have all refused to recognize the government as well. Through different statements, the 7 nations and a group of Caribbean countries, which are members of the ALBA alliance, all froze relations with Brazil. Russia and China have also expressed their concerns regarding the interim government. El Salvador's President Sanchez Seren said his government would not recognize a coup.
Hace muchos años.
This is something that happened many years ago, when the coups were done by military forces. Those were military coups. Now, coups are different. There are other ways that carry them out. Here, it was a process carried out by the Parliament and the Senate.
Una destitución por el Parlamento, por el Senado.
Early results give incumbent Danilo Medina a strong lead after Sunday's elections in Dominican Republic. Despite opinion polls' indication of a tight race between Medina and Luis Abinader, the preliminary results published by the country's electoral tribunal show a sweeping victory for the governing Dominican Liberation Party. Exactly 1 month after Ecuador's 7.8 magnitude earthquake killed 650 people and injured thousands others, residents are still struggling to get back on their feet. Reconstruction efforts have begun, yet authorities are still struggling to clear the rubble. However, the government has already reinstated basic services and health facilities are already functioning once more. Colombia's FARC guerrillas have agreed to remove child soldiers from their ranks as part of an upcoming peace deal with the government. The historic agreement has been accompanied by the hope that it will put pressure on authorities so that children forcefully recruited by paramilitary groups and also by the Colombian army would be released. Colombian authorities seized 8 tons of cocaine at the border with Panama. The bust, calculated to be worth $240 million, was the largest in the history of the country. The narcotics were discovered in a hidden underground tanker at a banana plantation in a region controlled by the notorious Usuaga clan. Venezuela's President Nicolas Maduro has ordered that authorities allow workers to occupy abandoned factories. The measure is intended to help reactivate the economy as the country faces shortages of several products and an energy crisis caused by record droughts. However, businessmen and opposition figures have reacted in defiance of the government. Authorities believe that shortages are being caused on purpose to create chaos and to generate a negative image of the government. Bolivia is ramping up production at 4 of its thermal power plants after signing a new billion-dollar deal with Siemens. It's all part of a plan to improve access to electricity for its growing population and flourishing economy. Bolivian President Evo Morales said the new deal was key to protecting the Andean nation's energy sovereignty. Our Bolivia correspondent Dimitri O'Donnell reports.
Here is one of Bolivia's main thermoelectric plants located near the Argentine border. It's one of 4 major facilities due to get an upgrade to expand the power generation capacity of the Andean nation. The government has signed a billion-dollar deal with industrial group Siemens as part of the plans that will generate extra megawatts, 1,440 at this plant alone. Bolivia currently has a generating capacity of 1,900 megawatts. The excess energy will be exported to nearby countries.
Our hydrocarbon minister has in particularly advanced our plans to start to export energy to Argentina. We have to be prepared for this and prepared for new negotiations for new investments.
Thermoelectric plants convert heat energy directly into electricity. The move to boost energy production is an important step towards building up the nation's reserves to ensure energy sovereignty. By the year 2020, Bolivia plans to produce 2,500 megawatts per year, and by the year 2025, between 9,000 and 10,000 megawatts annually for export.
We have 86 projects, 63 new areas where we're investing $12 million in exploration and exploitation. And all of this is in the hydrocarbon sector.
The government nationalised the electricity industry in 2010 and since then has invested $900 million in the sector. This has brought new opportunities and business for communities based near the thermoelectric plants.
It has changed our homes. We have work, we have projects that are developing. These resources are already to all of the communities and to all the people who are most in need.
The $1.8 billion investment over the next 5 years will be entirely financed by Bolivia. Over the next decade, the government plans to turn Bolivia into the major energy generating hub in South America. Dimitri O'Donnell, teleSur's, La Paz.
A dramatic video shows the attempted rescue of 24 whales off the coast of Mexico. Over 24 whales were stranded on the shore of Baja California. Locals and authorities tried to help the whales swim away from the beach. Experts at the site examined the whales and noted no injuries, which is why they believe the group of whales found themselves disoriented. The presidential candidate Bernie Sanders is in Puerto Rico ahead of the island's June 5th primary. The Vermont senators told a campaign rally there that the island's $70 billion debt must be restructured on terms that do not deepen the country's economic crisis. He called for an independent audit of Puerto Rico's debt, which has plunged the island into a decade-long economic crisis.
We have got to make it clear to these billionaire hedge fund managers that they cannot have it all. Children in Puerto Rico will not go hungry, will not lose education, will not lose health care to make billionaires even wealthier.
Western and regional leaders have met to discuss the stabilization and support of the new unity Libyan government. The leaders met in Austria seeking support for the country that is torn by armed factions and the threat of the Islamic State group, and announcing the lifting of an arms embargo on the country. Despite critics believe more weapons could end up in the hands of warring factions, the U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry said that world powers would back Libya.
The international community will support the Presidency Council as it seeks exemption from the UN arms embargo to acquire those weapons and bullets needed to fight. The international community will support the Presidency Council as it seeks exemption from the UN arms embargo to acquire those weapons and bullets needed to fight Daesh and other terrorist groups.
During an interview on UK channel ITV, when asked about British Prime Minister's criticism of him, Donald Trump responded that it looked like the pair would not have a good relationship. Trump, who is the presumptive Republican US presidential nominee, also urged Muslims to report people they suspected of extremism. Massive protests by the Hazara ethnic minority group took place in the capital of Afghanistan over the proposed route of a power line. Thousands of Hazara demonstrators marched towards the presidential palace, demanding that the line be routed through the Bamyan province, which has a large Hazara population. The government issued a decree later in the day promising to postpone the project for 6 months and to set up a commission to review the entire plan. UN Refugee Agency Special Envoy Angelina JOLIE has warned that the international humanitarian system for refugees is breaking down. JOLIE spoke against a, quote, fear of migration and said that more than 60 million people were displaced globally, making it a number larger than at any time in the past 70 years. Philippine President-elect Rodrigo Duterte has vowed to reintroduce capital punishment, which had been banned in 2006. This is part of Duterte's law and order crackdown that would also include ordering military snipers to kill suspected criminals. The president-elect also said he will launch a major military offensive to destroy Abu Sayyaf Islamic extremists on southern Jolo Island. Human rights groups have expressed their concerns as Duterte's measures could unleash a streak of rights violations in the country. Demonstrators took to the streets in Nairobi, Kenya to protest against an election oversight body. The protesters believe that the body is biased and therefore should be scrapped. Police fired tear gas and used water cannons on the crowds. This is the third clash over the issue in less than a month. Floods in Sri Lanka have killed 8 people and left thousands more homeless as they were forced to flee their homes. The government has deployed troops to assist in the evacuation of people living on slopes or in flooded areas. The official death toll could rise as some areas are still inaccessible due to blocked roads from fallen trees and fallen power lines. Soccer club Manchester United abandoned a match against Bournemouth on Sunday, all because of a security error. Shortly before the match was due to begin, a suspicious device was found in a toilet at the stadium. It turned out to be a fake bomb that was left in error after a training exercise. The mayor says the club should take responsibility for the incident. However, the head of the security firm has apologized for the error. And finally this evening, patrons of the Berlin Mall were treated to a spontaneous concert from the German Symphonic Orchestra. The professionals, along with amateur musicians, were led by Maestro Ken Nagano. About 1,000 musicians took part in the concert, ranging in ages from 5 to 82 years old. For more of these and other stories, please visit our website, telesurtv.net/English, and you're more than invited to join us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. For all of us here at Telesur, have a great evening. Bye.